When I would cut myself, I didn't experience the overload that many people did, but I did relish in the pain. I did like the pain. The pain was there for me. The pain was there for me when I felt like no one else would. And I'm not saying that these coping skills are able to. It's been a while since I've actually posted on this channel, and I do have a good reason for that. I've been struggling a lot with my mental health. And in my little break that I took, about a week break, I started to shift my focus from the things that are stressing me in life to things that I can control. So, what I wanted to talk about today is something that a lot of people experience, which is anxiety. Anxiety is one of the main sources of mental distress that a lot of people suffer with nowadays. When I was in the mental hospital, so many people were struggling with anxiety. So many people were struggling with different forms of anxiety. I know some had GAD. The doctors thought I had OCD. And essentially, the main thing that you need to know about anxiety is the fact that it's a natural reaction to a situation that your body misinterprets as life-threatening. So what do you do to combat that? Well, in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about how you can combat anxiety, whether that be social anxiety, OCD anxiety, or generalized anxiety. It doesn't really matter. Even if it's paranoia about things that don't really make much sense. Because yeah, I struggled with that as well. I have a psychotic disorder on the schizophrenia spectrum. But anyway, so I wanted to focus mainly on a coping skill that I learned. Well, not really a coping skill, 5 coping skills that I think you can incorporate into your life when you struggle with things like self-harm due to anxiety or irrational behavior due to paranoia. So, let me explain the situation with me first. I've been struggling with a form of psychosis, which is a break from reality. I became extremely paranoid and started to hear voices that aren't actually there, see things that aren't actually there. And this all was triggered in a family. You know, why am I getting into details? All you have to know is that I was struggling with paranoia and voices. So what I used to combat that anxiety, that irrational fear and dread, guilt, shame, whatever the fuck you want to call it, the way that I dealt with it was by using one of my senses. What does that mean? Well, when you practice positive sensory distractions, you're able to take your mind off of whatever is stressing you, and you can relish in the whole idea of being almost overwhelmed with something, but in a positive way. For example, I'm going to be going into one for each of the 5 senses, but a lot of the time people self-harm because it's a form of distraction, it's a form of sensory overload, but it's done in a negative way. When I would cut myself, I didn't experience the overload that many people did, but I did relish in the pain. I did like the pain. The pain was there for me. The pain was there for me when I felt like no one else would. And I'm not saying that these coping skills are able to completely combat that, because no matter what you do, it's not really gonna have the exact same effect as for example, cutting wood, but it's a healthy alternative. So, the first one I want to get into is your sense of hearing, which is gonna be music or a TV show, movie, anything that involves you hearing something. But the key component of that is it has to be something that you're listening to that can draw your attention in. If you're just listening to music and you don't like the music and you don't care about the music, or you're watching a movie that you don't care about, it's not necessarily gonna help you the way that distraction techniques that you're implementing, you're hindering the effectiveness of it. When it comes down to it, music is a very common thing in people's lives. Music is something that you can create. Music is something that you can listen to. You can watch behind the scenes to music videos and music production. You know, you may not always have the ability to watch a movie or maybe go on YouTube, but you will always have the ability to listen to music. You know why? Because you can sing. You are basically a walking, singing machine. Not really, but you get what I'm trying to say. Second one, sight. Sight is also something that can kind of include movies and TV shows and stuff like that. But the main thing I want to talk about is coloring. because coloring is important. Coloring is something that a lot of people consider to be childish, and I think it's really underrated. I think coloring is one of the things that can distract you the most because it requires a level of thought that you don't have when you're listening to music. It requires you to look at something, decipher what it is, what color it is, and maybe if you want to choose a different color, it would be really helpful. I know in the mental hospital we would always have art therapy. Well, not always, but like for a couple of days out of the week, as the day was ending, we would have art therapy, and I realized that that helps people a lot. And even if coloring is not your thing, things like video games can help. Things like just art in general, painting, drawing, anything that can really help train your eye. You're gonna be better at a skill, and not only that, but you are drawing attention away from negative parts of your life. So, touch. The next sense, touch. I think this kind of ties into the first one, which is hearing, which is music, and it ties into it because you can play an instrument. I know that many people don't know how to play an instrument, and that's not a bad thing, but you can always learn how to play an instrument, and it'll greatly benefit you in the world of distraction, because playing an instrument, not just like, what do I say? Not only in coloring are you training your body to differentiate what the proper reaction to something is. Instrument playing also implements that same idea. Chords, strumming patterns, maybe not even strumming patterns, maybe keys like on a piano or frets, not frets, beats on a drum, stuff like that. It'll teach your body to focus on something, to harness a skill, and to improve in that skill. So, taste. Taste is the most interesting one because I just learned about this, and I think that if I had known about this when I was going through my self-harm episodes, it would have been very beneficial. So for taste, you don't necessarily have to drink alcohol, because I know a lot of people do that. Not only does it warm your inside, it numbs your feelings, and it also gives you a sense of artificial dopamine, and it's a downer, so it's a drug, and so when practiced in extreme cases, it's not a good idea. But something that you can do is lemon or lime shots. What do I mean by that? Well, take a little shot glass, fill it with lemon juice, take a shot. Simple as that. Simple but effective. It's simple because it's just lemon juice. Even if you don't have a shot glass, you can just take a lemon and cut it in half, bite into it. Maybe not put it in your eye. That's not a good idea. I don't know why. But, yeah, lemon shots are a good idea. Lime shots are a good idea. It really helps you get that feeling of not necessarily pain, but relief. Because a big aspect of cutting is, the pain and the overload and the foreign feeling, which can also help people which can also be implemented in the idea of lemon shots or lime shots. And the last one, smell. This is the one that I use the most. I use it the most because it's a very effective one. And that's smelling something that has a strong smell, whether that be garlic or lemon juice or isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol, or maybe perfume or cologne. I love that one because I'll take cologne, I'll spray it on my wrists and on my neck, and I'll smell it. And when I'm working out, the oils and the stuff like that will mix with my sweat, and you can smell it even stronger. Smell is an important one for me. I think all of these are really important, and I definitely implement them much more in my life now that I learned about them. But I think when it comes to smell, I always have a little plastic bag. I don't think I have it right now. With a napkin, and that napkin is soaked in rubbing alcohol. And I'll smell that whenever I feel symptoms to distract myself. It even helps when I feel nauseous. It even helps when I feel anxious. It helps when I feel depressed. It's sort of like a wake-up call. And yeah, that was my 5 coping skills that I think you should try out the next time you are feeling anxious. So I hope you enjoyed. If you're in an emergency, I have emergency links down below, phone number, all crisis lines, stuff like that. If you want to DM me, my Instagram account and Twitter account is down below if you want to check that out. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Ahui ho, malama pono.